We are back once again into the kitchen angle right here as we do get ready for the big bad rejection. Bitcoin getting rejected by the 200 moving average. Everyone's going crazy on Twitter. What does it actually mean? And, well, what do the statistics say more importantly? So other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a nice little Tuesday morning over here. And let's just get right into the topic of today. So, looking at the white moving average right here, that is the daily 200 simple. And as you can see, so far has rejected price action. And as you probably have already noticed across all social medias, the hush of Bitcoin boo laws as Bitcoin bearers start to rear their head and claim victory has emerged. But this is a pretty classic play in my experience where you do see that first test into the 200 simple after a long period of consolidation as, generally speaking, a nice pushback area. But that pushback typically is an opportunity. So I do want to go at the outset of this video saying that, hey, while we do have these couple rejections right here, this one is different. The reason why it's different is because it is on a higher high. And that is combined with the fact that Bitcoin did put in a higher low right here as well. So, we do have higher low right here. We do have higher high right here compared to this high. And of course, that would be the etchings of the beginning of an uptrend. Further confirmed by the moving averages starting to coalesce within this region right here. That's the yellow 21 and the green 55 exponential moving average. And assuming that Bitcoin can essentially remain above, especially the 55, but even the 21 in this case, which are more or less coalescing at that $27,000 region, I do look at this as generally speaking an opportunity, meaning that Bitcoin likely does put in a higher, put in another higher low right here on this pullback, and probably does march upwards and onwards from there. Can I be wrong about this? Yeah, absolutely. But that's just what I would be going off of as far as, the probabilistic setups do imply, which we'll go over a little bit later in conjunction with this. Now, of course, this move that Bitcoin has had is going to be in conjunction with a few other things. First and foremost, daily RSI getting into the bullish control zone for the first time since like the beginning of summer, in June, July area, alongside the lowest volatility levels that we've ever seen ever, looking like they're maybe just about getting ready to expand as of right now. And even the daily jewel still remaining with its upside posturing. Plus, if we go over here to the 2-day time frame, getting a continuation signature as of right now, supported by that DMI. So I do look at all these things as more or less good. And especially when we look at the higher term time frames in relationship to that, like the 5-day, we can see that the 5-day time frame, which did close last night, did close above all major moving averages, and is thus just coming back down to the lowest period right here, just above the lowest period, that 9 exponential in the low 27s, and putting in hidden bullish evidence at the same time. So, overall, this is going to be hidden bullish evidence within the context of these last few lows right here, namely, if I get out my drawing tools, this one here, and this complex low right here, as you can see, again, alongside 5-day jewel starting to turn up, and again, supported by DMI right there. So, I do look at this as probably an opportunity on this pullback. Personally speaking, of course, I'm not your financial advisor, nor do I claim to be, but in this case, that's essentially what I would be thinking in this instance. Again, with the major caveat, as always, comes with some sort of an invalidation as long as Bitcoin is especially above $27,000 on a closing basis. On a closing basis, that is, if Bitcoin starts to lose 27, okay, perhaps plays back down to the September base, but I'd still be even looking at that as probably an opportunity as well for the more long term as we went over into the statistics for the last quarter of this year of 2023. In yesterday's video, I do believe it was, or maybe the video before that. Anyways, this is one of the more recent ones. So moving on now, I do want to get into where was it over here? Do we want to go through stochastic momentum? I suppose we could. I mean, weekly is still up as we went over yesterday with that DMI signature in the background. 26,100 going to be the pivot. 5-day time frame pivot is 25,650, which did just update last night, by the way. 2-day time frame is going to be also continuing to the upside above 26.8. Again, that's even above that $27,000 region, or sorry, below that $27,000 region. And daily will actually turn down below 27.4, which Bitcoin's actually above as of right now. Just to kind of put things into context for the relatively higher term time frames here. I'm actually curious where the 2-week time frame is. That one's still pretty heavy down. So fair enough, I suppose, if I did want to make a case for the downside, that would maybe be on the top of my list. Although kind of just looking at it, generally speaking here, it's not been the best timer of things, actually. So moving on now, I did want to get into a setup. And then we'll get over to, following up on something that we looked at, I believe yesterday, and basically for like the last few weeks prior, but slowly becoming more and more relevant here. Anyways, the 4-hour time frame is, we haven't spoken about one of these in a long time, so I'll actually just go over the general setup with this. But, the 4-hour time frame on the HPDR indicator is starting to trade below the 50% of historic returns range lows on this pullback. Okay, when that happens, I want to be taking a clear look at the 4-hour BBWP to see if the moving average is starting to decrease close over closure. If that happens while simultaneously closing above or below the range high or range low, in this case the range low, which is 27,600, then that will actually create a probabilistic setup for a nice bounce. Also coming alongside a potential another trendline test, or if I can actually get this one properly, something like this, a little bit of a regression right there, on the HPDRO. It's not a publicly available indicator, or it's not even just an available indicator at all right now. Kertic is still putting on the finishing touches with this, but that would kind of play hand in hand with potential bounce right here. Now, if I go ahead and back test that relationship, again, closing below specifically the 50% of historical returns range lows, alongside a decrease in the moving average on the volatility indicator right here, the BBWP. Okay, sorry, there are eggs that are getting fried in the background. I need to turn them off. Unfortunately, Elsa, my beautiful girlfriend, forgot that she had eggs fried in the back there, so I took it off for her. Lucky bitch. Anyways, so this next closure is coming in 2 hours, basically 39 minutes. If we do start to see closure below this region, then that could initiate that setup, again, assuming that volatility continues to contract. And if that does happen, we can go over the backtest history for this. I believe this goes all the way back to, let me just see, Jesus Christ, man. All right. I'm gonna do it like this. All the way back to 2018 actually, and of 126 trades over the last, I guess, 5 years almost, 74.5% of them did close, with a nice bounce. I'm actually curious what the performance summary looked like for that. So what was the average winning trade? Let's see, over 4% average losing trade, also pretty fucking high there, I should say as well. So if this one does lose, it's a big loser. But in this case, let's play around with the numbers and what would it look like if Bitcoin were to bounce from that region? Let's just say right around here. So I'm making a lot of assumptions, by the way, that first off that this what's the word I'm looking for? Setup actually does fire off, which it is not just yet. It's just a potential in the background. But that would put Bitcoin basically around the highs of this rally already, which is 28.6. And, Bitcoin, basically moves its way back there. It's very likely going to move upwards and onwards from there. Oh, bastard. How dare you? Reconnect. Yes, you must reconnect. Anyways, now that we've gone through that, we can go over here. We could probably finish this one off. The 5-day time frame, volatility versus stochastic momentum setup, still in remission. Unfortunately, 5-day BBWP continues to still go into contraction phase. It's been a very, very frustrating, let's say, setup right here. But again, whenever we do see that it is super low like that, expansion is around the corner, relatively speaking, on a 5-day time frame. So, can take some time, but it would be wise to be looking at the direction of the 5-day stochastic oscillator, which again is to the upside. We went over this early. 25,650 is the pivot. And if we do start to see volatility expansion, which right now we're not, then there would be a much greater probability of a much higher move. In this case, we could be talking about 30, 40% over the course of the next month and a half, if that does happen. So that's still there in the background. It's just, it's unfortunately, we're not seeing this one fire off just yet. But my point is that if we do start to see volatility expansion, well, that's going to start to actually play into that. So, it'd probably start off here with the 4-hour time frame. Yeah, that's right. Your eggs got wrecked. No, I turned them off. They're fine. They're fine, and you can walk through it. It's okay. Yes, so Elsa's like sneaking around in the background because she really desperately does not want to be seen in the morning. Yeah, just keep on laughing. It's funny, super funny. yeah, so I think that kind of gets through the crux of the analysis for today. Again, big focus on this area right here, $27,000 basically. As long as Bitcoin's above there, I do look for things to kind of get picked up and try again to the upside towards the last somewhere around the last high. And essentially, if Bitcoin really starts to even close back above, where's my levels over here? I mean, shit, even the average of this range of like 28.4. I'd really be looking for Bitcoin to make an assault into the $29,000 plus region from there. And, at that point, it's like $30,000 most likely. So I think I will leave things right there. Again, big focus on 27, above 27. Bula still got the balls in their court. Below 27, things start to get a little bit more complex, I guess. Could very easily see a return back down to about $26,000, maybe a little bit less than that. But for right now, so far, so good. And I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. And as always, I'd like to wish you the best of best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Wednesday.